With their usual certitude, they told us that all was lost. There was no hope for this candidate, who said that he would rather lose an election than see his country lose a war.
Well, here Sarah Palin looks like a vice president to me. She's talking about John McCain. She's giving the typical reasons for why the front of the ticket should be president without having to say much about herself. And it's something we haven't seen enough of her do because we're so focused on her. But I think she comes across as very supportive here. She comes across as somebody who really does believe in John McCain and why John McCain should be president.
A well-rehearsed speech. And she knew when to stop, when to let the audience applaud, and then when to jump back in again. She had some good audience control there. I was impressed upon in seeing that. It looked to me as if she'd been standing in front of a mirror or on a lectern and having somebody critique her.
We kind of can get a sense of what she's trying to build in terms of, let's say, the McCain-Palin brand. A lot of this speech emphasizes, McCain's sort of qualities as a fighter or as a maverick. Also, later in the speech, did the same thing with her type of thing.
But no, this is also a very important and significant in terms of what the voters said back in '98 here in Alaska when they defined.
I don't think that her accent is charming. I think that her accent is flat. I would be surprised if we heard too much of the flat Alaska during the rest of the campaign.
I think the public has enough brains to recognize the difference between what should be the caliber of a rehearsed speech as far as presentation goes and the differences you get in off the cuff.
Ms. Palin, as a follow-up, would you, if you were governor, you would follow the court order, as you said, pay the benefits to same-sex domestic partners, but would you then stand at a press conference and say, we need to amend the Constitution to eliminate this?
You know, it's tough to say what I would do today not having all that information that Governor Murkowski had in front of him when he called that. So it's tough in a hypothetical to answer that. But what I do know is that, again, inherent in that question that was asked on the ballot box that the...
Well, she gets asked the follow-up question where she's asked to clarify what really is a touchy subject there. And she dances around it before coming back and sort of saying that she would want to get rid of those benefits. But I think with Sarah Palin, we're looking at her answers and how well they match questions in a way that's more close than the other candidates, partly because we don't have enough knowledge about her.
She was able to dance around an issue and never really respond to it. It was what the voters said, or it's what not necessarily what I think. She just didn't respond to it, and almost in a classic political way.
We know that you're pro-life, but there are certain different shades of gray of pro-life. If a woman were, say, raped and got pregnant because of the rape, would that be an instance where you would allow her to have an abortion?
Well, I don't think it would be up to me individually as an individual
would it be against
to
the
allow.
law?
But in the case of the life of the mother being in jeopardy, I think that is the acceptable exception. And
my hat's off to her. I think she did a fairly more than respectable job of it, because he kept trying to get her to say, I, Sarah Palin, will not allow a raped woman to have an abortion. And I think she did a good job of, I wouldn't call it sidestepping, but she made some comment like, it's not really up to me.
Your daughter were pregnant, or your son was involved in a pregnancy. What would be your reaction to, I mean, if it was before marriage or anything like that, what would be your reaction and advice to him or her?
Again, I would choose life, and certainly I'm quite confident here that you're going to be asking my opponents those same scenarios.
Hillary Clinton used that once, at least once, when she said, you always ask me the first questions. And this is just one of these things you have in your pocket, a little trick up your sleeve or something that you can use to, as you said, push back or to throw your questioner off.
She is an absolute believer in pro-life, the sanctity of life, and that's the message she's putting out there. It's, as a politician, this is clearly something that is a hot button issue for a lot of voters, and so she's trying to do it in a very careful way.
And I do believe, though, that this war against extreme Islamic terrorists is the right thing. It's an unfortunate thing because war is hell, and I hate war. And Charlie, today is the day that I send my firstborn, my son,
she was rehearsed, but she wasn't that well rehearsed. And she was just throwing out phrases that she thought that you would have to get in within her 90-second response. That's what I thought when I saw it the first time.
I'm not sure I would have made the choice of sitting with her legs crossed, but I think she came across as fairly relaxed and not intimidated. I mean, he was trying, content-wise, he was trying to hammer her with the "you're saying God's a Republican" type theme, and I thought she maintained herself fairly well through that.
Sarah Palin comes across as certain. She's really playing this certitude, and that's, I think, the real takeaway she wants people to get from this interview. I think she wants people to see her as knowledgeable, first of all, and competent, but I think they see that also as certitude, that she knows what's right, and she's using that kind of language.